Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. Today I'm going to tell you the secrets of life. I'm going to tell you the meaning of life and what you can do if you're in a slump right now. This is going to be the summary of my life's work, the most important video that I've ever made. So stick around until the end. And if you do stick around to the end, you will be rewarded with a very special announcement. So let's get to it. All right, guys, so people often say, Nate, you need to smile more. You need to show, your lighter side. And I thought that I've done that in numerous videos. If you guys are new to the channel, it's not all serious doom and gloom, okay? I have these phases that I go through. There's some up times and some down times. I've had videos where I've done some comedy skits. People seem to love those. I'll post links to those here. But my default mode is one of hyper-analysis, and I want you to just think about something. For those of you smile Karens out there, do you really think that when you tell somebody they should smile more and they proceed to exhibit some extremely forced and artificial grin on their face and you proceed to applaud them in a patronizing manner, do you really think that you've accomplished anything whatsoever? Or perhaps you're just not giving them anything to laugh at? Now, I will say, on a more optimistic note, something that I'm very confident in and very positive about is that I'm quite positive that we are screwed as a species. Oh wait, that did not come out right. I'm quite positive that if you are preparedness minded right now, you will prevail. You will rise to the top, the cream of the crop, okay? Now, before we get into this, I gotta show you guys something, man. Fernand the Fur Guy made me this. This is something we talked about, we shared some ideas about, and he made it for me. This is a beaver throw / sleeping mat / mattress that I can use out in the woods. I can throw this right on the ground, and I'm gonna be able to use this to hopefully keep warm throughout the winter months while I'm out there camping this winter, because I plan on doing a lot of it. So anyways, I just wanted to show you guys that because this is a very unique item. We may be getting some at Canadian Preparedness, but they're going to be in quite limited supply. So give me a shout through my email. You know where it is. If you're really interested, you'll find out where it is. I'm not going to broadcast it on here because then I'll get 1,000 emails from everybody telling me I need to smile more. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video, all right? What have I learned about life that I need to share with you guys? Some things I've already talked about in a previous video, 5 things I've learned about life. You can go watch that here. There's a couple more things that have come to top of mind right now. And one of those things is that life is very much like a roller coaster. There's going to be ups and downs, but oftentimes people don't understand that the downs are the most important parts of your life. The downs are opportunity. And just hear me out. If you think about the roller coaster analogy, when you're on a roller coaster, when you're going up, it's not a very thrilling experience, is it? It's when you're going down that it becomes exciting. Okay, it's when you're going down that's when you feel alive. That's when you truly feel the blood rushing through your entire body as you possibly plunge to your death, even though your brain doesn't know that, but you're tricking it into thinking that you might just die. That's the thrill, okay? The thrill of being alive is on the way down, not the way up. The way up is actually quite boring and arduous, okay? It's painful. It takes a lot of time and energy. And when you're on the up and up, if you're like me and you're like people who are go-getters, entrepreneurs, when you're on the way up, you're always worried about, when is it going to be time to come down? And I think one thing that a lot of people tend to forget is that, let's take archery for instance. In order for you to draw a bow, you first have to draw it back. Okay, you have to retract, you have to give something, you have to concede something. There has to be some period where you're in a deficit if you want to grow and develop. And this is the same thing when you're starting a company. There may be years upon years where you're in a deficit, where you're in a drought, where you are working away in the background, tirelessly, okay? It's in those moments That's when you need to knuckle down and focus on the long term. Consider those moments of blessing in your life when you are not in the mode of success, when you are not on the up and up. Consider it a blessing if you have free time that you can devote to something bigger, to something greater, to something which may take a lot of pre-work, something which will require you to do the prep work. It's a great word for this channel, isn't it? Do the prep work. You know, the prep is really 90% of any job, is getting everything prepared so that when you actually go to do the job, it's going to be done right. It's going to be done perfect, or as perfect as can possibly be. So don't despair in those down moments of life. If you are down, like I know a lot of people get down this time of year, there's a lot of lonely people out there. The idea that loneliness is a bad thing is a myth that we have been sold. Now, I'm not saying that there's not an importance of community, but this whole thing that we're celebrating right now, this social construct by and large, I don't get hung up on it. It's not that I don't have nostalgia for when I was a kid and I love seeing the kids have fun and open the presents and the whole nature of the season. People are generally a bit more friendlier and loving. However, it's nothing I'm going to get hung up about. I mean, it's one thing to celebrate a social construct. It's another altogether to get really depressed about it. Okay, so don't be depressed if you are alone on this Christmas day. Do not get depressed because I'm right here with you. We are all in this together. Remember that. Now, loneliness is prerequisite for greatness. This is what a lot of people don't understand. A lot of those Hollywood stars, a lot of those corporate CEOs, not the token greedy corporate CEO, but I mean the one who's worked their way up, the one who's built a business, the one who's worked tirelessly till 5, 6, 7 a.m. in the morning every single night to do something that they love to do, to put their blood, sweat, and tears into something. All of those scientists racking their brains at 4, 5, 6, 7 a.m. in the morning, trying to figure out that equation or make that new discovery. All of those people were alone. And I'm here to tell you, if you want to truly achieve something and be at the top of your field, if you want to excel beyond everybody else, you are going to have to do it alone. You are going to have to be willing to forego friendships. You're going to have to forego relationships. There's a lot of things that you are going to have to concede if you truly want to leave a legacy. And I'm not saying that this is the case in all fields, and I'm not saying that you still can't have those things, but moderation for a lot of go-getters, it's just not a possibility. Do not fear being alone. I love the Bukowski poem. I think it's called Going All the Way. Okay, go and listen to that poem after this. It's about going all the way. It's about doing it, doing what you love and letting it kill you. It's about doing it to death. Because we only get one life to live. We only get one opportunity to leave a legacy. And my mission in life right now is to get people prepared for the potential outcomes of what's coming, because I'm very positive that we're screwed as a species. So I want to make sure that people are educated as much as I can contribute to that. Obviously, there's so many pieces to this preparedness puzzle. There's so many great channels out there with wealth of information. I'm just doing my part to help bring people, for one, entertaining content like this. Hopefully it's entertaining. For some of you, it's probably boring you to death, and then hey, watch something else. But from a marketing standpoint, I know that there's a lot of shysters in this industry right now. And there's a lot of companies selling people things which are just quite frankly garbage. And I guess I'm here as a prepper because I came from the grassroots, because I know what it's like to only be able to maybe buy that one preparedness item once a month with my small amount of disposable income as I slowly build up a bug-out bag over the course of many years when I was struggling back in the day. And I know what it's like. So for that reason, I want to make sure that my goal is to get people what they need. And that is our motto at CanadianPreparedness.com. And this wasn't a planned pitch or anything. It's just how it ties into my own aspirations and goals in life. So do not be afraid to be alone, okay? You need to get comfortable with loneliness. And if you are comfortable with loneliness, I'm telling you right now, there is absolutely nothing you cannot achieve. You also need to take great pride in yourself. And I don't mean be arrogant. I don't mean be narcissistic, but I do mean that you need to understand your worth. You need to understand that your life has extreme value, that you are an extremely rare specimen in the universe, and you are only going to live once. And for that reason, you need to milk this life for every moment that you possibly can and put in your best effort at every time. And indeed, being competitive is important, because at the end of the day, SHTF and all this prepping talk, the people who are worried about personal security and going out and getting their firearms training and all that, at the end of the day, in the back of everybody's mind, as much as we want to love each other and celebrate community, it's all ultimately going to come down to a conflict over resources. And it's a sad, scary thing that ultimately it could possibly come to that. Now, I hope it never comes to that. But what I'm trying to get at here is that competition, if you think about it in that way, can be a very motivating thing. A lot of the funding for the great technological leaps and bounds throughout the ages were born out of military necessity. So whether that's the government or the reigning powers that be investing money in various technologies so that they could get a one-up on their superiors. Now, the same thing can be true in your life. You need to have a little bit of, I wouldn't say hubris, but you need to really love yourself in a way which is not toxic, I'll say. But you need to believe in yourself. You need to believe that you are special, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So do not be afraid to be alone. Do not be afraid to work hard. It's okay to be alone. Look, I've had my fun back in the day. I've had a lot of friends. I guess they were just acquaintances. But one person told me once that if I had an element, it would be wind. And that's because I tend to go from place to place. I'm like there was a show in Canada called The Littlest Hobo. And I would just move to place. I would have these relationships with people, and I would just ultimately move on. And it wasn't because I didn't like those people or anything like that. It's just that that's the path that I'm on. It's my pathway. I'm a very transient-minded person, unfortunately, and that has its benefits. And I've hoped that, if anything, it's going to result in me having a positive impact on the world through this YouTube channel. If I can have a positive impact on people, if I can reduce the amount of human suffering and increase the overall amount of joy in the dark times ahead, then I think I've done my part. I think I've done all I could. Another thing I want to say that I've learned about life is that, I do a lot of physical fitness, and I watch a lot of fighters who, when they're at the top of their game, I'm talking about the greats, the GOATs in the sport. If you watch the GOATs in the sport, it looks like they're very confident, looks like they're very determined, but a lot of the greats, part of the reason why they keep winning is because they're incredibly scared to lose. You see, winning is as much about a fear of losing as it is about the glory of being at the top pedestal. And a lot of people don't realize that. That's why you get some fighters who are extremely cocky, extremely confident, but they never quite achieve that persistent greatness, which ultimately, of course, wanes because every dog has his day, unless you're like Floyd Mayweather or something. But Mayweather is a perfect example of this. If you guys don't know boxing, but Mayweather was a defensive genius. He just found a way to win all the time. And it was through evasive maneuvers that he found a way to win. There's a lot of hard talking, full frontal, in your face, very aggressive people within the preparedness community. And those people, just like those people in the UFC or in combat sports, they tend ultimately to have pretty crappy records. And part of the reason is that they're not fearful enough. See, it's my theory that the Mayweathers and the John Jones and the Anderson Silvas and the Wayne Gretzkys and anybody who is truly great and iconic and who embodied what it meant to be in the zone of their sport, all of those people, they possessed a fear of losing. There was a fear there, okay? Fear is a good thing. Don't ever let anybody tell you that fear is a bad thing. It's what you fear is what it comes down to, because everybody fears something. Everybody fears being wrong. Some people fear not being in line with their spiritual, transcendental, new age aspirations. Some people fear keeping up with the Joneses. Fear is everywhere. And I'm going to be doing a video specifically on this topic because fear does get a bad rap. But fear, for the better course of the day, is what keeps you alive. It's what keeps you from getting hit by a vehicle. It's what keeps you from making really stupid decisions, okay? These micro fears that we experience, this is what keeps us afloat. So never let anybody throw the accusation at you that, oh, prepping is just about living in fear. No, survival, okay? Thriving. The people who thrive the most, the people who get to the top of the mountain, they had the greatest amount of fear, but they controlled it. It's almost like they harness that fear. Because if you have no fear, you're going to go and make stupid decisions. From my perspective, fear is not that false evidence appearing real. No, for most of the time, there's a reason why you're fearful, okay? If there's a big brown furry thing in the woods somewhere and you see that thing moving, there's a reason why you're fearful. There's an objective reality to it. And the real geniuses of their sport, they're able to really understand that the thousands of little nuances of what they should be afraid of all the variables, of all of the potential little obstacles in the way, just like analyzing a game of chess. Okay, if you're not fearful of losing your king, you're going to lose your king. So there's an element of fear. Now, I'm not saying that there's not room for bravery, but the champions of the world are the ones who know exactly when, and in a very calculated way, when it's best to be brave. Because what you want to do, being brave is kind of dumb when you think about it. It's more about you want to resort to bravery when you absolutely need to, but up until that point, you should be absolutely calculated in the decisions that you are going to make. And the champions of the world are the ones who do the most amount of mental research and pre-work and only exhibit the amount of bravery that they need to, and they exhibit it at the right time. Anybody can be brave. It doesn't take much to be brave. It really takes no brains at all to be brave. Oh, look at me. I'm going to be brave and run out into traffic. Yay, I'm dead now. You have to pair that bravery with intelligence and an analysis of the situation. So anyways, guys, those are some things I've learned about life. But on a more practical note, never, ever, ever, ever send an email or a text message when you're upset. And unfortunately, I probably did that a little over 100 times this year. So I'm still learning in that regard. Okay, so for those of you who have stuck around till the end, this is something I wasn't going to do because the supply chain is completely screwed right now. It's completely screwed. We're literally waiting 6 to 9 months for a lot of products, and I'm probably going to regret doing this. But I feel that I have to do something for the community because I haven't done a whole lot for the community in the last few months with respect to trying to get you guys the best deals on stuff because the shipping price has gone up. Obviously, the supply shortages, the price of the goods are going up. But we're going to do, and this is going to sound penny pinching, but we really have to do this. We're going to do 11.5% flat discount off the entire store, CanadianPreparedness.com. That means if you were to order something that was, what, $500, you get, is it 50, 55, 60 bucks off or something like that, plus free shipping. And I can tell you, I'm very reluctant to do this because I know there's probably going to be some serious supply shortages in the not so distant future. So use the coupon code Boxing Day 2021, all lowercase, for 11.5% off your order, whether that's freeze-dried food, Berkey water filtration systems, get yourself a bug-out bag or a bug-out roll, or pretty much anything, a solar generator, an e-bike, like a Rambo e-bike. Guys, all I can say is that do it before I change my mind, okay? We're gonna let that run, obviously, from the time that this video is released till December 27th at midnight to give people a little bit of time. And I guess we'll be probably out of inventory next year. But remember what I said about the roller coaster, guys. If you're in a dark period in your life right now, just know that that is a time for you to recharge. That is a time for you to pull back another arrow, okay? And so that that arrow can finally release its energy. You can't build something without doing the groundwork that nobody sees first. It takes a lot of investment of time and energy. You have to go into a deficit in most cases in order to create something great in your life. That's why you have to go to university, go to school. And I know there's this whole thing, like, don't go to university. I'm just using it as an example. I know there's a lot of people right now who are frowning on the education system, and for good reason in a lot of ways. It's not very applied in terms of how the academic industrial complex functions nowadays. But I will say that it's a great analogy of investing time in order to ultimately be able to, first you kind of have to go down before you can kind of shoot up. I think that thing, was it the Apollo 13 mission or something like that, where they had to go all the way back to the moon so they could get the speed to rocket back to Earth. So they had to go away from their destination first before they could, fire towards it at a much more rapid speed. So something to think about. Anyways, don't worry about being lonely. It's going to be all right. Use your fear, harness your fear, okay? Constantly educate yourself, because guys, 2022, if you thought 2021 and 2020 were challenging, I think 2022 is going to be even more challenging, and we're going to see what other sorts of surprises get thrown at us in the not so distant future as everything seems to be coming to a head. And for those of you who like fake smiles, here's my Terminator smile impression for you. Anyways, you guys take care. Thanks for watching. Canadian Prepper out. And oh yeah, for all of those pagans out there, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Take care.